Greetings, lads, lasses. This is Pete Bertolero coming from Fresno, California on this fine Monday, smoking a pipe made by my favorite pipe maker, Mark Tinsky. This is called a Bilbo. I had him start making these for me years ago, and it's a really distinct shape. He did a real wonderful job on this pipe, and it's a big pot of a pipe, probably 2 hours or so. I have a Hue. I'm gonna give Hue away. Nobody can beat a Mark Tinsky rustication. Look at that. Mark's my go-to guy. He makes me a couple of pipes a year or so, and with a little occasional love from a tamper, I just lit it, and I probably won't have to light it again for the whole 2 hours. A couple of techniques you can use to keep your pipe lit. One is constantly keep the tamper working, because pipe tobacco is expansive, and as it heats, it expands and lifts the coals away from the tobacco. And so you tamp it down to keep the coals close to the tobacco. And then you do things every once in a while, like either breathe it into it lightly, or put your hand over the top, great vacuum, which draws the whole coals and the heat down. Breathing into it keeps the whole coals fanned. But the biggest thing you can do to keep your pipe lit is packing it and lighting it. It sounds obvious. Truth be told, a lot of guys are too impatient to do either right. In packing your pipe, there's a method, and the method to packing your pipe so that it'll stay lit the whole time, and so that the draw is great, is called baby, woman, man. And what you do is you sprinkle your tobacco into your pipe bowl until it's overflowing. Gravity fill is what they call it, and press down lightly till it's halfway down the pipe. That's the baby. That will be the least pressure you put on the tobacco. Gravity fill it again till it's overflowing. Press it down again till it's halfway up. That's a little bit more pressure. That's what we call the woman. Gravity fill it again until it's overflowing, and press it down until it's just below the lid of your bowl, the rim of your bowl. That'll be perfect. Now, it takes a little bit more time than sticking it in the bag and shoving it in, or sticking it in the tin and just shoving it in there. But if you'll observe those 3 layers of pressure, that's halfway there. The other thing is lighting it. And here's where the most patience comes in. Guys usually don't have it, or they get tricked by the fact that their first light seems to do it. Now, I can do that, but I'm old and wise and old, so I've kind of learned that. But most of the time you cannot do that. So what you do is you take your lighter out. Let's say I just filled my bowl. You take your lighter out, and I'm infamous in my videos that at video time, at go time, my lighter doesn't work. Let's see if the curse is broken. This is how you do the first light, which is called a char. At least 12 to 15 times. Good puffs. Puff away. Now the tobacco has expanded away from the other tobacco, the coals, so you press them back down again. Keep those coals close to the tobacco. Give it a few minutes to go out. Now let's say this is out. It's gone out, but you look at it, you know you had a good light because the gray ash is uniform. And Let's see if something's going on here. Let me see. I'm assuming we're still recording. Okay. First time I recorded from my computer, so who knows. So, okay, it's gone out. Ash looks good. You don't have to make up for it by getting all areas of your pipe because all of it's gray. That's good. That's a uniform ash. Second light. Tilting it either way gets it uniform. Back it down. You're good to go. The other thing about young pipe smokers is they forget to tamp. So they'll be talking away, a puff. They'll be talking away, forget to tamp their pipe. 5 minutes goes by or what have you. If you lit it right, then it should stay lit for about 5 minutes or so by itself without tamping, sometimes longer. But I never go that long. So I'll away, talk a little bit, breathe. Tamp. And this is just a continuous action of mine, whether it needs tamping or not. I always go about 1, 2, 3 minutes tamp, 1, 2, 3 minutes tamp. And yeah, if you can get used to that, or if you can get used to being a clencher that talks like this, can't talk very well, but you can talk like this, you're accomplishing a bunch of things at once, and you're good to go. Good thing about Peterson pipes and system pipes is that the draw is so good. They're worked in so that your moisture goes away from the bowl so you don't get it moist. And that's another thing. When you start feeling gurgling going on and so forth, you shouldn't get a gurgle going on in your pipe if you packed it right because you packed it wrong. Sometimes guys will get a gurgle if they pack their pipe too tight or too loose. And all I do is I just put a pipe cleaner through it while I'm smoking it and dab it, and it soaks up some of the liquid in there if there's too much in there, and pull it back out again. You're good to go. It's another thing you can do. So, the important thing is not to see who can smoke the pipe the longest and to show off who can smoke the pipe the longest. You know, some guys can be pipe Nazis and judge the way you pack it and the way you light it. It's not about that. It's about you enjoying your pipe. And if you have to continue to relight it, that takes away from some enjoyment of it. And so these are things you can do to keep it lit. Talking away, come back here, nice thick smoke. Mark Tinsky's pipes draw so well. They just lay in your teeth. This is a great big pipe, not uncomfortable. Perfect. Smoking black gold. No, actually I'm smoking peat moss. Tobacco named after me. I know I keep telling you guys that, but hey, it's like the big deal in my life. If I've accomplished anything, I've had a tobacco named after me. Fine thing for a pastor. Peat moss is cherry infused black Cavendish. It's actually black gold with cherry in it. Made by Lanes. Sold now by HighlandsCigars.com, where I get my top 4 tobaccos. And if you're watching this, Scott from Highlands Tobaccos, hey brother. All you other brothers out there, man, I'm enjoying the residence. I'm enjoying the comments, enjoying the camaraderie. Guys, there's such congeniality, such cordial, convivial fellowship going on, such care to respect one another and that kind of thing, and yet have great wit. It's well about being Irish. If you don't have a wit, you can't laugh, if you take yourself seriously, you're not Irish. You must be part Scottish or something. I'm a half Irish and half Sicilian. So basically, by nature, I'm schizophrenic. Now, you guys have been patient with me because I'm a technological moron. And I've been sending pictures that don't post and this and don't post and that and don't post. And I'm sure you've gotten tired of this. Let's see if this will work. In my videos from now on, what I'd like to do is give you a few tips or ideas about pipe smoking from my vast knowledge of pipe smoking, and then go on and share a thought with you. And for the next couple of weeks, I want to share along the lines of the philosophy of play, leisure, and recreation. I put together a group study. In churches, we call them Bible studies or so forth. But we have an actual 3 or 4 men's groups in our church that get together as Bible studies or as small groups, and they're called Holy Smoke. And the Holy Smoke groups are pipe and cigar smokers who get together and do what all the other groups are doing, but they're just smoking their pipes and cigars. Holy Smokes was put together years ago by me and Nick Bold O'Donohue, and I wrote a curriculum for it. It's not just a curriculum assigned to it, but it was specified for it, and it's called A Man in His World. It's about 13 chapters long. Guys get together and read a chapter, answer the questions at the end of it. I mean, it deals with a man and what he has to go through in his world. This is chapter 11 I'm getting these thoughts from today. If you're interested, let me know. It comes complete with a notebook, pipe tips, tobacco tips, how to choose tobaccos, what the difference is in the tobaccos, and it also has a scorecard. If you ever want to do a tobacco review or video, you have a scorecard in which you rate tobacco in terms of, I think it's like 5 areas: smokability, tongue bite, room note, smell in the tin or smell in the bag, feel, moistness, the kind of smoke. For instance, Black Gold and the Lane and the Highlands tobaccos are all real thick white smoke. I loved it when I was camping because it was about dropped down about 47 at night, and I'd sit there by the fire and the smoke would just hang, like halo, just hang in the air. Love that. But anyway, let's get I want to get part 1 of a man and his play, pleasure, leisure, recreation, and his need for adventure. Ladies, this probably applies to some of you as well. Don't mean to be exclusive, but this is along the lines I write, and I don't think this just pertains to men exactly, but it's a philosophy. Where do we get the philosophy of leisure from and recreation? Why are men, specifically as a gender, prone to look out the window rather than to look around the house, for instance? And though he's in his house and he's comfortable in his house, why is he always looking out the window as if he's looking for something else? What is it about our wiring that does it? This part is about the philosophy of it. At least 4 different times in the Bible. I'm a pastor, it's going to leak. You don't have to believe what I believe, but it leaks. 4 times in the book of Ecclesiastes, we are encouraged to enjoy our lives because it's the will of God. And I'm going to take one of those chapters, Ecclesiastes 2:24 through 26. This is what it reads. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God, for without him who can eat or drink or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases God, he gives that person wisdom and knowledge and happiness, but to the sinner he gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases God. One of the assumptions going into the 19th century was that with the newer forms of technology, ours would become some sort of mechanized society in which machines would replace human beings, which would result in decreasing of work and material abundance, and so forth and so on. Work would increase, maybe material abundance would increase, and there would also be an increase in leisure. More machines doing more of our workforce, we got more time to goof off. But a couple of philosophers, Mills and Marx, envisioned a society where material abundance would reduce the number of workdays and free up time for more authentic, creative, and intellectual activities. Does that happen? Not. Social and religious and economic factors combine to increase busyness and decrease the possibility that a man might enjoy his leisure. The people of our mechanized society ended up being thrown into a technological world that preyed on their naive assumptions of what it promised to do to improve their quality of life. And instead, due to the emphasis on speed, the emphasis on being efficient and productive, people became slaves to the factory even more. Now, as a result of that, in this new technological society where we were supposed to have more time, not less, we have become strangers, we've become slaves to the factory, strangers to leisure. Now, work and leisure have an entirely different relationship than this 200 years ago. Using pre-industrialized Europe, for instance, Thomas Anderson explains the difference. This is what he wrote. In medieval Europe, holidays, holy days, took up 1/3 of the year in England, almost 5 months of the year in Spain, even for peasants. Although work was from sunrise to sunset, it was casual, able to be interrupted for a chat with a friend, a long lunch, a visit to the pub or the fishing hole, none of which a modern factory office worker dare ever do. The fact that the American workers of the mid-20th century with their 40-hour week were just catching up with medieval counterparts, and American workers at the end of this century have fallen behind their medieval ancestors, our incredible growth in technology has not resulted in corresponding increase in leisure. Oh boy, howdy, duh. And so now, the frantic, overstressed business of the age we live in has brought about the development of the inauthentic man. The inauthentic man who remains distracted by consuming and producing, who's fleeing from owning up to the unsettling question of the meaning of life. In such a way of life, a life where you're slave to the factory and you're a stranger to leisure, has no place in the realm of serendipity, serenity, meaningfulness. As a result of that, there's no leisure activity, there's no time for contemplation, there's no time for celebration and festivity. It's as if we're on a train going 150 miles an hour, which gets us where we want to go faster, but has no time to put on the brakes if we see a wall. And so because we're not able to think correctly, we're not able to contemplate correctly, we're moving faster, but we're not thinking, we're not reasoning, we're not asking questions as to, although we're getting there faster, is this the best way to arrive anywhere? Well, the Greeks, God bless them, had a very different view of work, a term that only had a negative interpretation. When the Greeks thought about work, wasn't good. Indeed, the Greeks didn't even have to have a word for work. The Greeks did not have a word for work. Rather, to work is to be unleisurely. They spoke of it in the absence of leisure. If you're working, what that meant is, oh, you're being unleisurely. According to Greek philosophers, men worked in order to enjoy leisure. To be unleisurely was how the Greeks understood work and toil then. This is probably why our definition of leisure today is generally defined as a time spent away from work. The Greeks had a really cool view of leisure as the purpose for our existence. And I like that. Now, recreation, on the other hand, referred to an activity that amuses or stimulates the body in all its senses. For example, swimming, going to the park, things like that, exercising, hiking, water skiing, golfing. Recreation is something usually done outside the house, whereas leisure is usually done inside the house or in close proximity to it, like on the porch. The philosopher Aristotle believed that leisure was to be understood as the center point about which everything revolves. You don't live to work, he said, you work to live. Aristotle said the goal of your work is leisure. So while it's true that hard work represents the cure to one of the 7 cardinal sins of sloth, the despair of idleness and boredom, which was the meaning behind the Greek word acedia, it must be understood that leisure has nothing to do with idleness. In fact, idleness is understood according to Greek philosophers as the utter absence of leisure. In fact, idleness renders leisure impossible. It is the utter absence of leisure, the very opposite of it. Idleness can be defined as the incapacity to enjoy leisure. Is that good or what? Winding down, the extremes of being too busy or being too lazy amount to the same thing, and the same thing of being too busy or too lazy is apathy, not having the capacity to feel in the way of enjoying things. Apathy toward the fundamental questions of life, the result of the technological age. Consequently, men who by nature are special thinkers in the fact that they can be contemplative have become indifferent toward the transcendent meanings of life. They have become indifferent in the world to the whole idea of being and meaning, to service. They have been lulled to sleep to that which is banal and boring and meaningless, because the despair of acedia or sloth stems not from idleness or sloth, but from an inability to step outside of the accelerated business of the work world. In his contributions to philosophy, the German philosopher Martin Heidegger referred to this inability to enjoy leisure as not being able to bear the stillness, or what Joseph Piper called the incapacity for leisure. Well, leisure has nothing to do with mere recreation or time off. Leisure has to do with replenishing or refilling your bucket, recharging your mind. It comes under the meaning behind human existence. We exist not just to eat and to work and to breed and to build and to fight, but we also exist to contemplate our lives, the world around us, and so forth, to be able to think. And for a man, this is really important because of a thing going across our brain called the corpus callosum. And I'll talk more about that next week. Since I've overtaxed my time here, I don't know if I'm going to have to put this in 2 parts or not, but hope you guys enjoy the thought today. Hope it wasn't too long, and I hope your week goes well. Until I talk to you again next week, God bless you, keep you in His care. Sláinte.